Are you excited or secretly terrified because you're getting married and moving into a whole new life? Let me tell you something nobody says out loud. The wedding is not the scary part. The real shift starts after the pictures. If you're new here, subscribe right now. Like this video and comment "I'm ready" if you're stepping into marriage soon. Because in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to show you the psychological truth about moving into marriage and the spiritual truth that can protect your future. And stay until the end, because I'm going to reveal the one sentence that can stop 80% of marriage fights before they even start. Now listen closely, because this is not just moving in. This is death and a rebirth. The Bible says, "Therefore what God has joined together, let no one separate." Matthew 19:6. That verse is not just about staying together. It's about becoming something new. You get married, you don't just gain a spouse. You lose an old version of yourself. You lose the version that could do whatever it wanted, whenever it wanted. You lose the version that could disappear into silence without explaining. You lose the version that could make decisions without checking in. And here's what's wild. Most people don't struggle with love. They struggle with the identity shift. Because marriage is not just romance. Marriage is a mirror. And the moment you move in together, that mirror gets turned toward you at full volume. Suddenly, everything becomes spiritual. The dishes, the laundry, the way they breathe when they sleep, the way they respond when they're stressed, the way they spend money. And you start realizing, oh my God, this is not dating anymore. Dating is like visiting a country. Marriage is like becoming a citizen. Leave. In marriage, you have to learn. And if you don't learn, you will bleed on the person you prayed for. I need you to hear me, because this is where most marriages begin to crack. Not because two people don't love each other, but because two nervous systems move into the same space. And that's psychology. Your nervous system is your body's emotional memory. Your nervous system remembers how love felt in your childhood. It remembers how conflict was handled. It remembers if people apologized, or if people punished each other with silence. So when you move into marriage, you're not just bringing clothes and furniture. You're bringing invisible patterns. You're bringing trauma. You're bringing habits. You're bringing expectations you never spoke out loud, and you might not even realize it. You walk into the new house, and you think you're starting fresh, with a suitcase labeled, "How I Was Loved." And your partner walks in with their own suitcase, and then the two suitcases collide. That's why the first year of marriage feels so emotional. It's not because something is wrong. It's because something is being revealed. Marriage doesn't create problems. Marriage exposes them. Now let's get brutally honest. You're not just moving into a new home. You're moving into a new role. You're moving from me to we. And the human ego hates that. The ego wants control. The ego wants comfort. The ego wants to win. The ego wants to be right. But marriage is not built on being right. Marriage is built on being safe. Let me say that again. Marriage is not built on being right. Marriage is built on being safe. And the moment you move in, your partner starts scanning. Am I safe here? Can I relax here? It means you're human. Even the Israelites missed Egypt. And Egypt was slavery. Why? Because the human brain prefers familiar pain over unfamiliar growth.
That's psychology. Your brain is wired to survive, not to evolve.
So when you move into marriage, your brain might panic. It might say, what if this doesn't work? What if I lose myself? What if I regret this? And here's the spiritual truth. That fear is not always you. Sometimes it's the enemy. Because if the enemy can make you afraid, he can make you sabotage. He can make you start fights over nothing. He can make you question your spouse's intentions. He can make you look for threats where there are none. And the scariest part is, you will think it's just stress, but spiritually, it's warfare. Because marriage is a covenant, and covenants carry power. Doesn't just want you to break up. He wants you to become bitter. He wants you to become cold. He wants you to become roommates. He wants you to become strangers in the same house. So when you move into this new life, you need to move in with awareness, not paranoia. awareness. Now listen to this. Your marriage will be tested in 3 places first: money, communication, and expectations. Let's start with money, because when you move in, money stops being a personal topic. It becomes a spiritual topic. Suddenly you're not just spending, you're building. And if you don't talk about money with maturity, money will become a silent monster in your home. You'll start feeling controlled, or used, or unseen. So you need a system, not vibes. Love without wisdom becomes chaos. Now, communication. Marriage is not about talking more. Understanding deeper, because you can speak every day and still feel lonely. Some couples argue every week, not because they hate each other, but because they don't know how to repair. They don't know how to come back. And here's the psychological truth. Your partner is not your enemy, your nervous system is. When you're triggered, you're not reacting to the present, you're reacting to the past. That's why small things feel big. That's why a tone of voice feels like rejection. That's why a delayed text feels like abandonment. That's why a simple okay feels like disrespect. So if you want to survive the first year, you need to learn to pause, not to win, to understand. Now, expectations. This is the one that destroys marriages quietly, because expectations are often unspoken. You expect them to know how you want love. Notice. You expect them to respond the way you respond, but they are not you. And if you punish them for not reading your mind, you will create a home full of pressure. And pressure kills affection. Now let me give you the most important truth of this entire video. When you move into a whole new life, you're not just marrying your spouse. You're marrying their world, their family, their culture, their wounds, their stress patterns, their coping mechanisms, and they're marrying yours. That's why you need grace. Not fake grace, real grace. Grace that can say, I don't like what you did, but I still love who you are. Grace that can say, I'm hurt, but I'm not leaving. Grace that can say, I need time, but I'm not punishing you. Now listen, marriage is the most spiritual thing you will ever do, because it forces you to die to yourself. To yourself is the beginning of transformation. That's why marriage reveals pride. It reveals selfishness. It reveals insecurity. It reveals immaturity. And if you're not careful, you will blame your spouse for what God is trying to heal in you. Let me say that again. You will blame your spouse for what God is trying to heal in you. Some people get married expecting peace, but marriage brings exposure first. Exposure is not punishment, it's preparation. God is not trying to embarrass you, He's trying to build you. Now let's talk about moving in physically. You are going to learn their rhythms, their habits, their flaws, and you will have moments where you think, wait, why didn't I notice this before? Because dating hides things, marriage reveals things. Not because people are fake, but because closeness reveals everything. That's a reason to mature. Now, I'm going to tell you something that will save you. The first months living together, do not make big conclusions. Do not say, this is who we are forever. Because the first months are not the final version. They are the adjustment season. Your home is learning your love. Your love is learning your home. So be patient, but don't be passive. There's a difference. Patience says, we're growing. Passivity says, we're ignoring. And ignoring problems in the beginning creates pain later. So talk early, talk gently, talk honestly. Now let's go deeper. There is one invisible thing that changes the moment you marry. When you're single, you can run from yourself. You can be distracted. You can avoid it. But in marriage, you have a witness. Someone sees you. Someone notices your moods. Someone notices your patterns. And for many people, that feels threatening, because being seen means being exposed. But spiritually, being seen is healing, because darkness only grows where nobody looks. So if you want a marriage blessed by God, you need to stop hiding. Stop hiding emotions. Stop hiding fears. Stop hiding your needs. Stop hiding your struggles. Because your spouse is not your savior, but they are your partner. and partnership requires truth. Now I want to speak to the person watching who is scared. You love them, but you're scared. You're thinking, what if I lose myself? Listen, you won't lose yourself if you build your marriage on God. We'll lose your ego. And that's a good thing, because the ego is the part of you that ruins love. The ego is the part of you that wants to keep score. The ego is the part of you that wants revenge. The ego is the part of you that wants control. And marriage will crush that. Not to destroy you, to free you. Now let's talk about the home, because you're moving into a new space. And space carries energy. Yes, psychologically. And spiritually, a home can feel peaceful or heavy. A home can feel safe or tense, and that doesn't come from furniture. It comes from what lives in the atmosphere. Words, tone, respect, prayer, apologies. If you want your home to feel like heaven, you have to stop speaking like hell. You can't build intimacy with harshness. You can't build unity with sarcasm. You can't build peace with silent treatment. Going to tell you the truth about fights. Fights are not the problem. How you fight is. Every couple fights, but not every couple repairs. And the couples that repair last, because repair is the language of love. So when you move into this new life, make a decision. We will not destroy each other in conflict. We will not call each other names. We will not threaten divorce. We will not bring up the past as a weapon, because words leave marks, and sometimes the marks stay, even after the apology. Now let's talk about the biggest shock after marriage. It's this: your spouse will not meet every need you have, and if you expect them to, you will crush them. They can't be your God. They can be your partner, your friend, your lover, your teammate, but only God can fill the deepest places. That's why some marriages fail, not because people don't love each other, but because they made each other idols. They expected a human to do what only God can do. And when the human fails, they feel betrayed. So listen, love your spouse deeply, but worship God only. Now here's something that will change everything. You need rituals, not just romance, rituals. Because rituals create stability. A weekly check-in, a prayer before sleep, a moment of gratitude, a Sunday walk, a budget meeting. Because love is not only a feeling, love is a structure, and structures protect feelings. Now I want to speak to the person who thinks, but I'm not ready. Good, because nobody is ready. Marriage is not something you master before you enter. It's something you grow into. And God doesn't call the ready. He makes ready the called. So stop waiting to feel perfect. Just be willing. Learn. Willing to apologize. Willing to change. Willing to be humbled. Willing to be taught. Because the person you are today is not the person you must be forever. Marriage is a school, and your spouse is not your teacher. Life is. God is. Now let's talk about something nobody warns you about: the loneliness inside marriage. Yes, it can happen. You can be married and still feel alone, not because your spouse is bad, but because you don't know how to connect emotionally. Many couples share a bed, but not a heart. So how do you fix that? You stop talking only about tasks, bills, schedules, work, cleaning, and you start talking about the soul. What are you afraid of lately? What are you praying about? What hurt you this week? What made you feel loved? What do you need from me? Because the goal is not to live together. The goal is to grow together. Now here's the mini cliffhanger I promised. The one sentence that can stop 80% of marriage fights. But before I give it to you, you need to understand why fights happen. Most fights are not about the topic. They are about meaning. The dishes are not about dishes. They're about respect. The money is not about money. It's about security. The tone is not about tone. It's about being valued. The time is not about time. It's about priority. So when you fight, ask, what does this mean to you? Now, here is the sentence. Are you ready? Say this when tension rises. I'm not against you. I'm against the problem. I'm not against you. I'm against the problem. That sentence shifts everything. because it reminds your nervous system, this is my teammate, not my enemy. And spiritually, it reminds you that the enemy is not your spouse. The enemy is division. The enemy is pride. The enemy is offense. The enemy is bitterness. So you don't fight each other, you fight for each other. Now let me end with something powerful. You're getting married and moving into a whole new life. That means you're stepping into a calling, not just a relationship. Marriage is ministry. You will minister healing. You will minister patience. You will minister forgiveness. You will minister growth. And yes, you will be stretched, but you will also be blessed. Because God doesn't just join two people, He builds a future through them. Marriage casually. Enter it consciously. Don't enter it selfishly. Enter it prayerfully. And don't enter it thinking love will be easy. Enter it knowing love will be worth it. If this spoke to you, subscribe, like this video, and comment I'm ready so I can pray for you. Because your new life isn't just a new address, it's a new identity, and God is going to meet you there. And before you think this is only about romance, let me say this clearly. Moving into marriage is not just moving into a house, it's moving into responsibility. It's moving into spiritual leadership. It's moving into emotional maturity. So let me ask you a question. When you imagine your new life, do you imagine peace or do you imagine pressure? Because your imagination is not random. It's revealing what you're carrying. And I want you to pause right now and comment this. God, teach me how to build a peaceful home. Seriously, comment it. Because when you type it, you're not just engaging, you're making a decision. Now here's the next thing nobody tells you. When you move in together, your love language will get tested. Because love languages are easy when life is easy. But when you're tired, when you're stressed, when you're overwhelmed, that's when love becomes real. And this is where couples start feeling confused. One person says, I feel unloved. And the other person says, but I'm doing everything for you. And both of them are telling the truth. Because one is giving love and the other is not receiving it. So if you're about to get married, comment, I will learn my spouse. Not I will change my spouse. I will learn my spouse. Because marriage is not mind reading. Marriage is studying. And the people who last are the people who stay. Curious. Now listen. There will be a moment after you move in, maybe week 1, maybe month 3, maybe year 2, where you look at your spouse and think, who are you? Not because they're fake, but because you're seeing layers you never saw before. And you might feel fear, and you might feel disappointment. But here's what I need you to understand. You're not meeting a new person, you're meeting a deeper person, and they're meeting a deeper you. And that's why marriage is holy, because it forces you to stop performing. It forces you to stop pretending. It forces you to stop being impressive, and it invites you to be real. Now, I want to give you a powerful spiritual anchor for your home. The Bible says, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Joshua 24, verse 15. That verse is not decoration. That verse is direction. Center. Bree. Something else will be. Ego. Money. Social media. Your parents. Your trauma. Your pride. And whatever sits at the center of your home will shape your future. So if you're serious about your marriage, make a decision early. This house will be a house of peace. This house will be a house of prayer. This house will be a house of respect. And if you agree with that, comment, my house will be covered. Now, let's get even more practical. When you move into a whole new life, you will face a strange kind of grief. Yes, grief. Because you are leaving a season behind. You are leaving the season where your life was fully yours. You are leaving the season where you could be spontaneous without explaining. You are leaving the season where you didn't have to consider another heart. And that grief can come out as irritation, or coldness, or distance. But it's not because you don't love your spouse. It's because transition is emotional. And some of you were never taught how to process transition. So you shut down, you get short, you get defensive, you get passive-aggressive. But hear me, a mature spouse doesn't punish their partner for being human. A mature spouse communicates. So if you struggle with shutting down, Comment, I will speak with love, because that's your new assignment. Now let's talk about the pressure of being a perfect couple. Social media will try to sell you a fake marriage. Matching outfits, luxury vacations, soft music, cute captions. But let me tell you the truth. A strong marriage is not, and health is built in private, not posted in public. So don't compare your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel, because comparison is a thief. It steals joy, it steals gratitude, it steals intimacy. Now I want to speak to the person who is moving in with fear. You're thinking, what if I'm not enough? What if I mess this up? What if I become like my parents? Listen, your past is not your prophecy. You might have seen divorce, you might have seen chaos, you might have seen disrespect, but you are not cursed. You are called, and you can build what you never saw. If you believe that, comment, my marriage will be different. Now let's talk about the one thing that will either make your marriage feel like heaven or make it feel like war. Emotional regulation. That means learning how to stay calm when you're triggered. Dysregulated. You don't communicate, you attack. You don't listen, you defend. You don't solve, you punish. And the worst part? You say things you don't even mean. Then later you say, I didn't mean that. But the damage is already done. So the goal is not to never argue. The goal is to never destroy. And the strongest couples don't have less conflict. They have more repair. So if you're getting married soon, comment, I choose repair. Now here's a key phrase that can change your marriage instantly. When you feel yourself getting heated, say this out loud. Give me a moment. I want to respond with love. Not, leave me alone. Not, you always do this. Not, you're so annoying. I want to respond with love. That sentence is maturity. That sentence is wisdom. That sentence is protection. Because love is not just what you feel. Love is what you choose under pressure. Now let's talk about intimacy. Because when you move in together, intimacy can become complicated. Not because you don't desire each other, but because stress kills desire. Unresolved conflict kills desire. Feeling unseen kills desire. Feeling criticized kills desire. So don't treat intimacy like a demand. Treat it like a garden. Water it, protect it, respect it, and listen. Sex is not the foundation, but it is a reflection. If the emotional connection is broken, the physical connection will suffer. So don't ignore the emotional world. Now I want to give you a warning that might save your future. When you move in, do not let small resentment become normal. Resentment is like mold. It grows quietly, it spreads slowly. And one day you wake up and the house feels toxic. So deal with things early, not aggressively, not dramatically, but honestly. Now I want to ask you something personal. What kind of marriage do you want? A marriage that looks good, or a marriage that feels safe? A marriage that impresses people, or a marriage that honors God? Because you can't build both if your priorities are wrong. So comment this if you're serious. I want a safe marriage. Now let me speak to the men for a moment. If you're a husband, you are not called to dominate. You are called to protect. Protect her heart. Protect her dignity. Protect her peace. And women, you are not called to control. You are called to nurture. Nurture his confidence. Nurture his purpose. Nurture his softness. To submit to God. Because when both people submit to God, nobody has to fight for power. Now listen, the enemy will try to get you to focus on your spouse's flaws. He will try to magnify them. He will try to make you forget they're good. So here's another key phrase for your home. Say this often. Thank you for trying. Not just thank you for doing it perfectly. Because most spouses are not refusing to love you. They are learning how. Now I want to close this part with something strong. Marriage is not a contract. Marriage is a covenant. A contract says, I will if you will. A covenant says, I will because I vowed. And yes, that's heavy. But that's also beautiful. Because covenant love is the closest thing on earth to God's love. God doesn't love you because you're perfect. God loves you because He is faithful. So as you move into this new life, don't just bring boxes. Bring humility. Bring patience. Bring teachability. Bring prayer. Bring self-control. And if you're stepping into this season, comment one last thing. I'm building a covenant, because you're not just getting married, you're building a legacy. And let me take you even deeper, because there's one moment that hits almost every couple after moving in. It's the moment when you realize, oh, this person cannot read my mind. And you laugh, but then you get frustrated, because you thought love meant they would just know. But love is not mind reading. Love is communication. So if you've ever expected your partner to just know, comment, I will speak my needs. Because silent expectations are future resentment. Now listen carefully. There is a spiritual trap that destroys new marriages quietly. It's called offense. Start collecting small moments and storing them like evidence. You don't say anything, but you remember everything. And then one day, you explode. Not because of one thing, but because of 100 unspoken things. And that explosion feels like betrayal to your spouse, because they didn't even know there was a problem. So if you want to protect your marriage, do not become a collector of offense. Become a builder of peace. And if you're choosing peace, comment, I refuse offense. Now here's a truth that will change how you see your spouse. Your spouse is not here to complete you. Your spouse is here to reveal you. To reveal your patience, to reveal your selfishness, to reveal your kindness, to reveal your pride, to reveal your wounds, and yes, to reveal your love. That's why marriage feels intense, because it's not a game, it's a refining fire. It doesn't come to burn you, it comes to purify you. Now let's talk about moving into a whole new life emotionally, because some of you are about to move in, but you're still emotionally living in your old season. You're still thinking like a single person. Single thinking says, if I don't like it, I leave. Covenant thinking says, if I don't like it, I lead. Lead with love, lead with honesty, lead with prayer, lead with maturity. So if you're ready for covenant thinking, comment, I will lead with love. Now here's a hard truth, and I'm saying it with love. Marriage will not heal what you refuse to face. A ring does not heal insecurity. A wedding does not heal trauma. A new home does not heal fear. If you don't deal with your inner world, you will make your spouse pay for it. So don't just plan a wedding, plan healing, growth. And if you're ready to grow, comment, I choose healing. Now let's talk about the new home atmosphere again. Because you're about to create a space where your future will live. And one day, your children might live there too. So ask yourself, what spirit will my home carry? Will it carry joy or tension? Will it carry peace or sarcasm? Will it carry warmth or coldness? And the answer is not based on personality. It's based on discipline. A peaceful home is built, not wished for. So if you want a peaceful home, comment, I will build peace. Now I want to give you a marriage mindset that will save you. Stop asking, who is right? Start asking, what is right for us? Because the moment you start trying to win, you both lose. A marriage is not a courtroom, it's a covenant. Now here's another key phrase. Write this down, or at least remember it. Least commented. It's not me versus you. It's us versus the issue. Comment that right now if you want that mindset in your home. Now listen, the first year of marriage is the year of learning. You're learning how to share space, you're learning how to share time, you're learning how to share emotions, you're learning how to share decisions. And most importantly, you're learning how to share leadership. Because marriage is not one person carrying everything. Marriage is partnership. But partnership requires something rare, vulnerability. And some of you are not afraid of marriage, you're afraid of being truly known. Because being known means being seen. And being seen means being exposed. But the Bible says, love covers a multitude of sins. 1 Peter 4:8. That doesn't mean love ignores problems. It means love refuses to shame. So in your marriage, correct with gentleness, confront with respect, cruelty, because you can be honest and still be holy. Now here's a dynamic question. and I want you to answer it in the comments. What are you most excited about in marriage? And what are you most nervous about? One sentence: be real, because you're not alone, and your comment might help someone else feel normal. Now let's talk about something that will shock you. You're going to have moments where you don't feel in love. Yes, even with the right person, because feelings rise and fall, but covenant stays. And if you were trained by movies, you will think something is wrong. But nothing is wrong. You're just moving from emotion-based love to choice-based love. And choice-based love is stronger, because choice-based love is what God does. God doesn't love you only when you're easy. He loves you when you're messy. So in your marriage, seasons. Seasons of passion. Seasons of routine. Seasons of stress. Seasons of joy. And the couples who survive are the couples who don't panic when the season changes. So if you're ready for real love, comment, "I will love through seasons." Now here's another warning. Do not invite outsiders into your marriage too early. Not everyone deserves access to your private world, because advice from the wrong person can poison your perspective. So choose wise counsel, choose godly counsel, and choose privacy, because some things are not meant for group chats. Now let me end this section with a powerful thought. You're not just moving into a new life, you're moving into a new assignment. And your assignment is not perfection. Your assignment is faithfulness. Faithfulness in how you speak. Faithfulness in how you serve. Faithfulness in how you repair. So comment this as your final declaration. My marriage will be faithful. And if you're still watching, you're not watching by accident. God is preparing you. God is warning you. God is strengthening you. Because the life you're stepping into, it is bigger than a wedding day, again. And your spouse is confused, because they're talking to the adult you, but they're feeling the wounded version of you. So if you want to do marriage the right way, you have to learn yourself, not just your spouse. And if you're ready to learn yourself, comment, "I will do the inner work." Because the inner work is what protects the outer relationship. Now let's talk about a dangerous sentence that ruins new marriages. It's this: "This is just how I am." No, that's not maturity. That's a refusal to grow. Marriage is not about staying the same. Marriage is about becoming better. So replace "this is how I am" with this: "This is what I'm working on." That sentence is attractive. That sentence is safe. That sentence is leadership. So if you're choosing growth, comment, "I'm working on me." Now listen, the person you marry is going to disappoint you. Sometimes, not because they're evil, not because they don't love you, but because they're human. And you are going to disappoint them too. So the question is not, will we disappoint each other? The question is, what will we do after? Will we punish? Will we withdraw? You're not supposed to stay the same. Marriage is a new season, and seasons require separation. Not from everyone, but from anything that threatens the covenant. So if you're ready to protect your marriage, comment, "I will set boundaries." Now I want to talk about a silent killer. It's called keeping your options open. Some people get married, but mentally they still live like they have an exit plan. They don't fully commit. They don't fully invest. They don't fully surrender. And you can feel it. A spouse can feel when you're halfway in. And spiritually, it blocks blessing, because God honors covenant, but covenant requires full agreement. So if you're entering marriage, enter fully. Not perfectly, fully. So comment, "I'm all in." Now listen, your new life will require new habits, because love without habits becomes unstable. Love each other and still drift. You can love each other and still grow distant. You can love each other and still become roommates. So build habits that keep you connected. Pray together. Eat together sometimes. Laugh together. Check in emotionally. And here's a key phrase that will change your home. Before I react, I will seek to understand. That's wisdom. So if you want that in your marriage, comment, I will seek to understand. Now I want to say something very important. Marriage is not 50-50, because some days you will be at 10%. Some days your spouse will be at 20%. Some days one of you will be exhausted. Some days one of you will be grieving. Some days one of you will be sick. Marriage is 100-100. Not every day is equal, but every day intentionally. And if you understand that, comment 100-100. Now here's another truth. Have a moment where you miss being alone. And that doesn't make you a bad spouse. It makes you a human being who needs space. Healthy couples don't suffocate each other. Healthy couples give each other room to breathe. So don't confuse space with distance. Space is healthy. Distance is neglect. So communicate it. Say, I love you. I just need a moment to reset. That's not rejection. That's regulation. Now here's a spiritual key for your new home. The Bible says, be completely humble and gentle. Be patient, bearing with one another in love. Ephesians 4:2. That verse is not poetic. That verse is survival. Because humility keeps you soft. Gentleness keeps you safe. Patience keeps you stable. And bearing with one another means you don't give up when it gets hard. So if you're choosing humility, comment, I choose humility. Now let's talk about the most underestimated skill in marriage, apologizing. Not the fake apology, not, I'm sorry you feel that way. No, a real apology. I was wrong. I see how I hurt you. I'm going to do better. That is powerful, because pride is loud, but love is humble. So if you're ready to apologize in your marriage, comment, I will own my mistakes. Now listen, your spouse is not your opponent. Your spouse is not your project. Your spouse is not your child. Your spouse is your covenant partner. So treat them with honor. Honor in how you speak. Honor in how you disagree. Honor in how you touch. Honor in how you joke. Because disrespect is not just words. Disrespect is spiritual poison. And if you're choosing honor, comment, I will honor my spouse. Now I want to end with a final image. You're moving into a whole new life, and it's like walking through a door. On one side is your old self. On the other side is your future, and the door is called a covenant. And yes, you will be tested, but you will also be strengthened. You will be challenged, but you will also be transformed. So don't enter this season afraid. Enter it. Enter it with God. And if you're stepping into this new life, comment this as your final declaration. God, build my marriage.